Hi everybody. I am recording now, so just to let you know that we are recording. Ashley, if you want to take it away.
I realized I was muted for everything I was saying, so thank you, Heather. Hi, everybody. Welcome. We're so glad that you could join us for the session today. Our presentation is about 20-25 minutes, and then we'll have lots of time for questions at the end. If you want to ask questions through your microphone, that's fine, or if you'd prefer to chat, Heather will be monitoring that, but we will go ahead and get started. So this is a 36 credit hour degree. That's pretty standard for master's programs. That equates to 12 classes. It is a fully online degree. We actually don't have any face-to-face offerings at all. And all of our online courses are asynchronous, meaning that you don't have to be online at a particular day at a particular time on a particular day. But our classes do follow the semester schedule. They start and they end with the face-to-face classes. It's not a free-for-all. There is some structure. And most of the classes have a weekly or a bi-weekly schedule so that you understand what it is that you're meant to be accomplishing. And then it's up to you to find time in your week to get those tasks accomplished, whether that's readings or discussion boards, projects, tests. If anyone is out of state, all of our online students pay a specific online student rate, which is actually a little bit lower than the in-state rate for graduate students. So that is a significant savings. And even if you're in Kentucky, you also pay that online only rate. So that's a nice thing to know. We have about 300 students currently enrolled in the program. So we're not one of the biggest, we're not one of the smallest. We are sort of right in that sweet spot in the middle. We are, however, one of the oldest continuous programs. We started teaching classes here in 1918, and we've been accredited since the 1940s. We also have over 30 years of experience in distance education. We used to do this with a satellite campus, and then we had sort of taped classes, and then we've been fully online for about the last decade. We have 10 full-time faculty, and we are ranked well by U.S. News & World Report, 17th for the overall program, 3rd in health information, 11th in school library media, and 12th for services for children and youth. So let's talk a little bit about academics. So I mentioned a couple of the concentrations already, youth services, school libraries, health information, but we also have other concentrations that you might expect: academic libraries, public libraries. There's also information technology and systems for anyone that is more interested in working on kind of the backside, the support side of our field. Our whole information network is dependent on IT at this point, and so we need people that have great facility with information technology systems. So that is a whole concentration in this program. And there's also a generalist concentration if you have a lot of varied interests, or if you want to explore different facets of this field. That's a really popular concentration for our students to choose. The important thing to note about the concentrations is they're not formal degree designations. It's not like you're picking a major within the library science program. The concentrations are really there to help you share your interests with us, and for us to then share back to you some classes that we think would be a good fit for your interests. You're not required to take every class listed on a concentrations description. Some of them have 15 and 16 classes, and you're welcome to mix and match. So if you have an interest in academic libraries and information technology and systems, we highly encourage you to choose classes recommended from either of those concentrations. And also keep in mind that sometimes we have new classes come up that aren't on those concentration lists at all. So it's always a good idea to look at the course catalog for the coming semester just to see what's open. The one concentration that is a little bit different is our school libraries concentration. This is for our certified teachers who are coming to earn their Master of Science in Library Science and also become certified as school library media specialists. So those students have, one, their teaching certificate, and two, a more strict course list that they have to follow. So they don't have as much option in terms of mixing and matching as students outside of that concentration. So I spoke a little about 12 classes or 36 hours for our non-school library students. This is how that breaks down. We have 4 core courses that everybody takes, 600 through 603. While the class numbers are sequential, the classes themselves are not. You can take them in any order. 600 is an introduction to our profession, who we are, what we do, why we do it, why it matters. 601 is more about information seeking. How do we identify appropriate resources to meet people's information needs? And how do we as information professionals find information effectively and efficiently? 602 is the other side of the coin from 601. It's about knowledge organization. So how do we create metadata? How do we create information systems that can then be searched effectively and efficiently? How do we create the structure that underscores our whole field? And then 603 is a foundational management class. Everyone in this field manages something, whether you're the director of a huge library system and you have the responsibility for that whole system, or you're in charge of the craft supplies for your summer reading program. You're going to manage something. So we have a class that focuses on foundational management and teamwork skills, because that is important. Outside of the 4 core classes, everyone has to take at least one technology class, and we have many on offer in our curriculum, including 636, which is a nice sort of foundational, ease you into a technology class, and then some more advanced things like 668, which is a databases class for people who already have some technology experience. While you're only required to take one technology class, we always encourage you to take as many technology classes as you're interested in. Our field is very responsive to technology. Everything that we do depends on great facility with technological systems. So the more technology classes you have, the easier time you will have pivoting when things inevitably change in our field. Outside of the core and the technology classes, you have 7 electives. You can pick anything in our catalog, including 672 practicum, which Heather coordinates, and our 695 independent study, which is a chance for you to design a class. Say we have something that you're really interested in, but we don't have a class on it in our curriculum. As long as you have the supervision of one of the full-time faculty members, you can design your own class after you've completed 18 hours. The same is true for the practicum. We prefer to students to have 18 hours completed, ideally the core classes. And for the practicum, you have to complete at least 140 hours of work in an information institution. And then you create a multimodal project at the end, sort of explaining what you've done. Heather, do you want to talk a little bit more about the practicum requirements, or shall we go into school library media?
I will kind of segue actually between the 672 practicum and then our school media slide. But I wanted to add that while a lot of our different ALA accredited library science programs have practica or some kind of option for intern experience for course credit, our practicum is set up so that our students can pursue opportunities that are local to them. Obviously, we have students across the United States. So we want to make sure that you're not at all restricted to trying to find something in Kentucky. That would not make sense. So so there is a learning contract to facilitate, and also I'm available to help facilitate students who are getting started with that process. The other nice thing about our practicum is, so long as those hour requirements for the course are met, it is completely possible to apply a paid internship for the practicum. So that is certainly something we encourage. And I frequently get opportunities that I share with students from our alumni network and beyond, just all over the states. So there's usually something that is nearby our students who are interested. So that's just something to keep in mind. The other thing I want to mention, kind of segueing into the school librarianship, is that our practicum is not a capstone course or exit requirement for our students. The 672 course is optional. It is repeatable also. If you have a different project you're working on, then you can apply for a second practicum. So you can repeat the class in another semester, potentially getting up to a full academic year of experience really in the field before you graduate. But it is in no way required. We have many students who are already working in a library. So you are not required to then find somewhere else to go and do a practicum so that you can graduate. The one exception to a required practicum rule is actually for school media students. It is a curricular requirement. And that is the 676 school media practicum course. For those students, that is something that you actually do in probably your final semester. So you'll have much time before that to prepare, to work with your advisor. We also have a certification placement person who works with the school systems and securing these placements for our school library students. So we do have placement assistance with this program that extends to at least for our Kentucky school teachers. So that is the sort of just a little difference for our school library students when it comes to a practicum. Now that is a completely its own course. It's separate from the other practicum, but we work to make sure that any student who's completing that in the school library program, we work with you to make sure that you can go ahead and maintain your teaching schedule and things like that, and still get those hours in. And Jamie Morris just asked in the chat, neither the practicum or independent study are required. Correct, they are optional electives. And the practicum for school media students is a requirement, but it is a separate course. You're very welcome. Ashley, take it away.
So I wanted to briefly review our school library course plan just so that if anyone is interested, they can see the difference. So you'll notice it's the same 4 core classes. Like I said, everybody in our program takes that. And then our school librarian students have school library specialization courses that they take. Administration of school media centers, current trends. We have some options for the third one. Organization of knowledge is one class students have taken in the past, but there are other courses that can be approved to meet that requirement. And then as Heather mentioned, the school library students do have that required practicum. It can be separated across multiple semesters. You can do it 1 credit hour at a time. And a lot of our students find that that makes it a lot easier to manage since most are practicing teachers. Our school library students also take at least 2 literature, they take 2 literature courses, and they can choose between a course focused on children, a course focused on young adults, and then we also have youth literature for a diverse society. And then those students take at least 2 technology classes. So one that's specific to school media centers, and then another one from a list of approved courses, including 636, which many of our non-school librarian students take. I did want to go back 1 slide. This is a sample of our elective options. This is not an exhaustive list. It's just to give you a sense of some options that may be available to you in the program. So I've already mentioned Youth Lit for a Diverse Society. We also have a public library class and academic library class, as you might expect. The digital libraries class is very popular, several data science classes, and then I want to turn your attention to our 690s. Those are our special topics classes. So we will have full-time faculty, and some of our trusted part-time instructors will propose brand new classes. And that means that we're able to offer things that we've not had in the catalog before. So for instance, we've got an informal learning and information organizations class that was an LIS 690. And by the time you guys start the program, it will probably have its own course number because it was very well received. And so we're going to add it to our full catalog. But that means that we have then space for new 690s to get proposed. So it's always a good idea every semester to look at those 690 classes, those special topics classes, to see what's on offer because there are new things coming. And this is a great way to get some really interesting elective options. Heather, did you want to add anything?
I did. So as Ashley mentioned with the 690s, many times this is also a place for us to launch new coursework and new course offerings. So I can tell you that 3 out of the 4 of the ones listed on this sample elective options here have actually just this semester been approved with their own official course numbers and are going to be regular catalog offerings. So electronic resource management is one, the informal learning and InfoWorks class, and then information behavior of children and youth as well will be a regular course offering. So that is another reason to check the 690s. But we always include those descriptions and things in the catalog for those. And in certain semesters, we may have IT elective options, which are also LIS 690s, which are noted in the catalog. So it's possible to take those potentially to fulfill that IT requirement course as well.
Thank you, Heather. So I do want to talk a little bit about a student opportunity that's very unique to this program. It's called Alternative Spring Break, and we've been doing this since 2011. Heather and I actually participated when we were students in the program in the same year, but on different projects. So what happens is during our school's spring break, which is usually the 2nd or 3rd week of March, we typically send students to some of the leading institutions in the nation. So in the past, we've had partnerships with Library of Congress, with Smithsonian Libraries, the National Archives, National Library of Medicine, and the National Network of the Library of Medicine. As you can imagine, the last couple of years, this has looked a little different because of the pandemic. So our students have been doing virtual internships, and that will continue for our 2022 program. But we're hoping by 2023 that we're back to physically sending students to these places. And the nice thing about that is since this is an online program, sometimes that's the first chance you have to meet some of your peers in the program in person. The school also provides typically $1,000 in scholarship money to support the students that are selected for this program to help offset the cost of travel and housing. Like Heather said, our students are all over the place. We have students all over the country. We also have some students that are international. So we understand that going to, say, DC or Bethesda for a week is a tall order for some of you if you're not in the area. So we like to provide support to make it more feasible. But this is an excellent opportunity to take the theory and the knowledge that you're gaining from your classes and then to really put it into practice in a wide variety of projects. So our students have worked on public-facing projects, things like advancement, social media, educational materials. Our students have also worked more on back-end side projects, analyzing search data to then make public-facing materials more useful. So it really does range. And even if, say, National Library of Medicine has a project, you don't necessarily have to have a background in health sciences to work on that project. Many of them are more LIS focused, and so they're open to all the students in our program. So typically we announce the partners for the coming program in the fall semester. I'm about to announce them in a couple of weeks for the 2022 program. The applications are due in the fall semester, and then usually we have made the selections prior to the winter holiday break. And then, as I said, our students then participate in the program in March. So it's an excellent opportunity. And even if you're not selected the first year that you're in the program, we highly encourage you to apply again. Typically, we can support 8 to 10 students every year. So there is another opportunity for you to participate if you would like to. So let's talk about tuition and financial aid. This is a master's program. This is a significant financial undertaking, and we want you to be prepared. So the current tuition rates for 2021-2022 for our online only students, which is every student in this program, the full-time rate is $6,291 per semester. So full-time for a graduate student is 9 or more credit hours. For us, that would be 3 or more classes. The part-time rate is $700.50 per credit hour, about $2,100 per class. So that's if you're taking 8 hours or fewer. For us, 1 or 2 classes, effectively if you're taking 3 or 6 hours. As you know, tuition rates change every year, so this is accurate through next summer, but next summer we will get the rates for 2022, 2023, and those are always posted on our registrar's website in case you want to look ahead. In terms of application deadlines, we are still accepting applications for spring 2022 through November 15th. So there is still time to get your application in if you wanted to get started in January. If you're looking a little further ahead, the summer deadline is March 15th and the fall deadline is July the 1st. But if you're looking at any of the scholarship or funding opportunities, please note that you may need to submit your application a little bit sooner, or in some cases a lot sooner, to be considered for those opportunities. For example, the university does provide fellowships. This is usually the most competitive form of funding, simply because you're competing with the other 8,000 some odd graduate students here. But if you would like to be considered for a fellowship, we really need your program application for library science in no later than January 1, so that we have enough time to process that application and to get your fellowship application put together before the deadlines. The same is true of assistantships. Notice that application deadline for assistantships is March the 1st, so your program application really should be in no later than, say, February 1st. We do often have assistantships available for the students. This year we have 4. And in payment for the 20 hours that the students work for an on-campus library per week, they are awarded a full tuition scholarship for the fall semester and spring semester, and health insurance and a small stipend. They are competitive. Unfortunately, you do have to physically be in Lexington or the surrounding area because the assistantships require work here on campus. We don't have any virtual options at this point. Scholarships, however, are open to all students in the program, whether you're here in Kentucky or outside of it, and whether you're full-time or part-time, it does not matter. You are welcome to apply for our school-sponsored scholarships. The deadline for scholarships is June 15th. I would suggest having your application for the program in May the 1st, May the 15th at the latest, at least a month in advance. Because we may be moving to an application system this year where you have to be admitted before you can actually access the scholarship application. So they're in the process of working on that right now. We should know hopefully by early spring whether that's happening or not. Our school-sponsored scholarships are modest, usually between $500 to $1,500. For larger scholarships, we suggest looking at other external organizations. The American Library Association is a huge supporter of students in this field, usually giving away hundreds of thousands of dollars each year. Those applications are due March 1st. I think the application portal is open now. It usually opens in September. And they have a wide variety of scholarships. Some of them are very general, some of them are very specific. So it is worth your time to look through everything that's on offer and apply to everything that you qualify for. Beta Phi Mu, which is our honor society, has often done scholarships in the past. The last couple of years, they've only been able to award scholarships for doctoral students, but I highly suggest looking on their website to see if they have brought the master's funding back. And there's also your state library association. So the Kentucky Library Association provides scholarships for students in our program. And look at the rules for your state, because for Kentucky, the rule is either that you are a resident of Kentucky, enrolled in an ALA accredited program, which we are, or that you're a US resident, a US citizen who is enrolled in our program at UK. So even if you lived in Florida, right? As long as you're a US citizen and you're enrolled in our program at UK, you can apply for the Kentucky Library Association scholarship. And many other state library associations have very similar wording. So you may qualify not only for ours, but your home states, or at least one of the two. So it's always worth taking a look at those. Now, how do you actually apply to the program? So there's several different ways that you can get to the application. I'm going to skip ahead and do that one first. The easiest way to do it is from the graduate school's website. It revolves the fewest clicks. So conveniently, our grad school's website is gradschool.uky.edu. Very easy to remember. You will land on a page that looks very similar to this. To get to the application itself, you'll choose the second item, prospective students, and then the first option under that, apply. That will take you straight to the application portal so that you can create your account, log in, and start actually uploading your materials. In terms of what we require, we're looking for an undergraduate GPA of a 3.0 or higher. And if you've done any graduate level work, a 3.0 or higher there as well. As long as your degree is from an accredited institution, it doesn't matter what field it was in. We have students in this program from history and English and other humanities. We have students from more social science backgrounds, sociology, for example. We also have students that come to us from the sciences, so computer science, biology, chemistry. Whatever field you had your first degree in, that's useful because it's subject special knowledge that you can bring with you to library science. But it's not uncommon, I was a person like this, to come into this degree field with no experience at all. And it's also not uncommon for people to have had years of experience in the field, which was the case for Heather. So she already had experience when she came in. So you'll find a little bit of everything, which is a really nice thing about this field. Outside of your GPA and your transcripts, we're looking for 3 letters of recommendation. That can be any combination of academic and professional. If you've been outside of higher education for a while and all of your recommendations will be professional references, that's totally fine. We understand. In addition, we want a personal statement where you tell us, why do you want to be an information professional? What is it about this field that excites you? Why do you want to go into this work? And then the second part of the statement should address, why is our program a good fit for your career goals? So of the programs that you could have chosen, why are you applying to us? What is it about our program that really gets you excited and meets your needs? The last piece is a current CV or resume, just so we can see what kind of experience that you've had that may be relevant to our field and also to graduate level work. And at that point, that's the end of our presentation. I know it was a lot of information, so we've got the rest of the time for questions. So feel free to unmute yourself or to put anything in the chat. And if you think of anything later, you can always email either Heather or myself. You can reach Heather at the sis@uky.edu address, or you can reach me at ashdewitt@uky.edu. So we will open the floor for your questions.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, this is Anna. Thank you very much for your this session. This has been very informative. A question I have is, how are advisors chosen for students? Are the advisors in specialists in the students' area of interest, or is it more random, or how does that work?
Heather, would you like to take this one?
Definitely. So we actually, once you're a new student, you'll get a series of welcome emails, and mostly just from me and from Ashley. And there is a new student form where we solicit some information from you regarding what kind of concentration area you're interested in the program, what some of your goals are. And we take that information and we will assign you to one of the full-time faculty. So you'll have a faculty advisor, in addition to having a student affairs officer working with you, which is me. And that faculty advisor, we make a very concerted effort to match students to a faculty advisor who shares an interest or research background in that particular concentration. So for instance, if a student tells me that they are very interested in academic libraries and scholarly communication, that type of thing, then I will try to pair that person with a faculty member who has done scholarly communication research or academic libraries related research, and has that type of background. Same thing with our youth services folks. And all of our school media students have the same advisor, because if we didn't do it that way, it would be confusing for everyone involved. But since they have some very specific educational and kind of documentation needs, so I work with our Dr. Cahill, who is our school media advisor, to help those students to make sure they're not only getting all of their degree requirements in, but also meeting the certification requirements that are necessary for that concurrent certification in school media. So that is how we assign advisors. Now, occasionally a student will go through the program, finish their core, and they may start taking their elective classes or have other professional experiences and decide, I completely am changing what I want to do. And should this happen, if it warrants that a change in advisor, um, we will facilitate that when that happens. So that is how advisors are assigned. And I hope that answers your question, Anna. But that's a really good question. So thank you.
Thank you.
I see we've got a question from Jamie. Is the summer semester shortened so that there's a summer 1 and summer 2 in order to get to take another class if we're only able to take one at a time? So Jamie, at the University of Kentucky, the summer term is one 12-week term, but then programs can offer classes in any sort of combination that they want within that 12-week term. What we do in the library science program is we offer classes during the last 8 weeks of the summer session. So if you could only take one class at a time, you would be able to take one class in the summer. And truthfully, with that sort of double pacing, one class in the summer could be challenging enough as it is. But the other classes are offered in the fall and the spring semester. So if you're taking one class at a time, you can potentially take 3 classes every year, and then you would complete the program in 4 years. Or if you decide that you want to take more classes in a fall or a spring semester, you can do that as well. Something we haven't mentioned is that we leave pacing up to the students. So you can decide to be full-time one semester and then part-time the next semester, and you can switch back and forth however it works best for you. We know that life circumstances change. Some semesters you'll have more or less time. So if you want to take 3 classes one semester and then 1 the next semester and then back to 3, it's completely up to you. We don't make you stay with whatever you've started with because we know that things change.
I also wanted to jump in on that question just to talk about summer course offerings. So students can absolutely start classes in the summer. We always have the core courses, typically LIS 636, the foundational IT class is offered in summer. And then we have a handful of electives, the majority of those being related to the literature courses that are required for school media certification, because summer is a pretty good time for our teacher students to take classes. So that's, but also we have youth services students and public libraries students who want to take those courses as well. So youth literature for a diverse society is offered in summer. And then we've had a handful of electives offered in summer as well. So there's not as wide a breadth of classes offered in summer as in fall and spring, and it is an optional semester, but we certainly have classes available, and students can absolutely start classes in summer term. So if you're planning to apply for summer or start courses in summer, we definitely can accommodate that. And then Jamie also asked if working full-time, what do you find reasonable as a class workload? And that is a question that Ashley and I both get pretty frequently. And it's a little difficult to answer because it's very subjective, because different areas are easier for some people to grasp than others. So for instance, if you've been working with metadata or you have any kind of background where you have knowledge of certain things coming in, that class might be super, super easy for you. But for someone else, it might be the hardest class that they take in the program. I had, Ashley and I were just discussing this this past week, and my experience taking, for instance, the foundational IT class was I'm so bored because I had a background in IT, and it was all of that just came really easy to me when I was taking the class. But for some of the other students in the class who came from a different background, that class was super, super hard, which made it considerably more difficult for them. So unfortunately, it is a very subjective question. It's going to depend on your ability to have time available and to be able to prioritize your schedule. Time management is really key in online programs, like Ashley mentioned earlier. What I usually recommend students do, and something that we make available to help with this, is that you consider when you do have free time to set aside as your class time during the week, and B, that you can look over past syllabuses of classes. We make those available on our website. So most of those don't change too crazily from one semester to the next. So it's very easy to see how the class is structured. Is this going to be a class where you have group work to do or heavy writing, or is this going to be project based? And then you'll be able to kind of ascertain what type of class it's going to be and what the requirements are going to be. And that makes it a little bit easier when you're choosing those courses. All of our students start with core classes, and they can be taken in any order. So with our students who are also working, whether full-time or part-time, keep in mind that if you want to just start with 1 or 2 classes, and then if you find, hey, this is actually really great, it wasn't as crazy with my schedule as I imagined it to be, I'm going to go up to 3 classes next semester and go full-time. You can do that. You can also, if you start again with full-time classes and go, okay, I actually think I need to take only 1 or 2 classes because I have this outside priority that's going to need to take precedence, and that's going to be the best way for me to manage an academic workflow while that's going on. So I think that if you are working full-time, maybe consider starting with 2 classes. And don't forget that summer is also an option. If you take summer classes, that is also going to decrease your time to degree. And you have up to 6 years to complete the degree. So you can spread it out, you can condense it. Whatever works best for you. I do think that the best thing to do kind of getting started with that is to examine your own schedule, look at your priorities and where you would have time to work on schoolwork, and consider that first, and then kind of go from there. Ashley, did you have anything to add with that question?
Yeah, I would echo. I would start with 1 or 2 classes if you're working full time, so that you can get a sense of, okay, this is about how much time this is going to take me every week to work on these classes. So like Heather said, because it is so subjective, we don't know outside of your time work schedule what you also have going on. But that will give you a sense of, yes, 1 or 2 classes is manageable, or you know what, 1 class is manageable, and that's what I need to stick with. So it really just does depend on you. And like we mentioned, you can change that schedule up as you find that you have more or less time. But it's very person dependent. So we don't want you to feel overwhelmed, but we also want you to feel like you are progressing through the program at a pace that works for you. These are great questions. Does anybody have any others?
I was wondering, is there a particular concentration that you guys are especially strong in?
Youth.
Youth
and health.
That's what I was wondering, because I noticed I'm interested in public libraries, and I noticed your course listings for that concentration. Half of them have to do with children and young adults. So
actually, that's where our program started in 1918, as we were kind of an auxiliary program to the teaching side of campus to prepare classroom teachers. to help their students with literacy. And so
Okay.
that history has sort of stayed with us through the whole program. So youth has always been a big focus of our program, and we have several faculty where that's their area of specialization.
All right,
I
thank you.
I wanted to chime in on that and mention also that we do have a very strong kind of core faculty who work with data science
Oh yeah.
and with information communication technology. We actually have the ICT master's program as well. So that is outside of library science. However, because it is another online graduate program offered at the University of Kentucky and it is within our school, we will have students who are interested in, for instance, research methods and different topics that are offered maybe more in like ICT. So human computer interaction is one. And so our students have the opportunity to take those courses as cognate classes. So you have up to two classes, 6 credit hours that you can take outside of library science, as long as they are approved for the degree, and ICT classes typically always are. So we have a research methods class that is very much like an academic research methods course, looking at qualitative and quantitative research methods. So that is something that is a class I usually recommend as a cognate option for our academic libraries folks. With public libraries, we'll see different electives that are offered related to things like search engine optimization or social media and marketing. And so and they may not, again, with our concentration areas, because they are not like degree specializations, you have some fluidity to pursue those other options. There's a data visualization class, which I think is a fantastic class for anybody going into academic or public libraries. We have an archives course as well. And that is an option, again, that would work for public or academic, as well as the electronic resource management class, which looks at journals and database subscriptions. And so both the back end of how those get set up and then the technical side of that. So there are many different options for public libraries, and there's options that are not that are a little bit maybe outside of the box. One of the great things about having a student affairs team, having Ashley and I, having your faculty advisor here with you in the program, is when we are working with you and we see that those are your interests and there are those opportunities that arise, we'll be able to say, have you considered this class? Or I actually think that this class would be a fantastic fit for you. Or you mentioned wanting to learn more about this area. So that is just something I wanted to mention, that it's a possibility as well.
Thank you so much for joining us, Jamie. If any of you need to leave, we understand. We have a couple more minutes for questions, but we do want to be respectful of your time and end the session promptly. So does anybody have any other questions that you'd like to ask us?
So I did have one question in terms of the admission requirements.
Mm-hmm.
Is that 3.0 GPA a hard number, or will you allow students with a lower GPA?
So what we tell students, if your GPA is below a 3.0, is that you need to write one additional statement to go with your application. And that statement addresses the circumstances that led to that lower GPA, and then why you now feel prepared to succeed in a graduate level program. There's no length requirement. It can be however long or short you feel it needs to be. Writing it doesn't guarantee admission to the program, but it does give us a lot more context so that we understand all the circumstances that went into that number. We know that those numbers are not very transparent most of the time. So yes, there is a possibility that a student with a GPA below a 3.0 can be admitted. You just need to write that additional statement so that we have that extra context when we're making that decision.
Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And do you happen to send this slideshow out to us once you're done, that we just have the information on hand?
Yes, we will send out both the slideshow and actually the video recording of today's presentation. So you can rewatch the whole thing if you want to as well. And then like we mentioned before, you're always welcome to email either Heather or myself as you have questions. We are happy to help.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any final thoughts before we bid you adieu for today?
I just had one more question about accessibility of professors and advisors, and if you need support, how easy is it to get that?
So one really nice thing about the way that we do advising is that we built advising shells in Canvas, our learning management system. So the same system where you take classes, you can also contact your instructors or your advisors or Heather and myself directly through that system. You can also email. Our faculty are very responsive. Most of them will state in their syllabus that they'll get back to you within 24 or 48 hours. I really like all of our colleagues. They're really nice people to work with, which is a great thing to be able to say. And if you would prefer to meet in person, we do have faculty that will meet on campus. We do physically have a location. I am in the office today, or we can also set up phone calls and Zoom meetings. So faculty will meet you where you are. But the sooner you can sort of put that request in for a meeting, the better off you are, just like any faculty. They have meetings all the time, but they are very accessible and happy to help and here to answer questions as well.
All righty, thank you.
You're welcome. There's no final questions. We can thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, or this morning, I guess it's not afternoon yet, for spending part of your day with us. Hopefully we will see your applications soon, and please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or if we can help with anything.